How's it going, everyone? I am Splat431 here with something new called Gaming Thoughts and Opinions. And this will basically be me discussing some sort of topic relevant to video games that I find interesting and want to talk about. So, don't expect this to happen too much because honestly, I really can't think of that much to do or have that much to say on most of this. So anyway, on to the topic for this time, I guess. It's going to be cheating. And as you can see, cheating is in quotes. Because the thing is, what is, if you think about it, cheating in terms of video games? Really, think about it. What really is it? You know? Let's look up the definition for cheating. Right. So it comes up with cheat, and it says cheat, verb. 1. Act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage. Or 2. Avoid something undesirable by luck or skill. Seems pretty fair. Look at definition 1 right there. Act dishonestly. We know what dishonestly means. It just simply means to not be honest, or to say lies, basically, right? We can all fairly say that that is cheating. But then we have dishonestly or unfairly, and then of course in order to gain an advantage. Unfairly. What is unfair? What is unfair? So let's look at its definition. Unfair, adjective, not based on or behaving according to the principles of equality and justice, or not following the rules of a game or sport. Now that's very interesting, not following the rules of a game or sport. Not following the rules. Now the question is, could it actually be that sometimes the rules might be unfair? Now that's a possibility too, if you think about it, really. So, in my opinion, when it comes to talking about cheating in video games, most people will say this is fair, and anything else is basically cheating. The thing is, everyone has a different definition of that. And I think you could basically categorize most of this into what I call the 3 tiers of cheating. So tier 1, the intentions of the game or creators of the game are fair. Basically, this one is kind of hard to define, but I'd say that sentence is the general gist of it. The intentions of the game or creators of the game are fair. Basically, what the creators of the game say is fair. For example, in Super Smash Bros., you can do a technique called wave dashing. That wasn't an intended thing, but the fact is it's possible. But in the case of people who are in tier 1, they would see that as something you shouldn't do, because it's the intention of the game and the intention of the creators of the game that you are not to use that, because they didn't originally intend for that to happen. Alright, so let's move on to tier 2. Tier 2 states that anything possible within the game is fair. So anything that is possible within the game's code without any sort of external device modifying said code or the results said code produces, then that is fair. So that means, in that previous example, wave dashing is now suddenly okay. Wave dashing is okay now because while the developers didn't intend for it, it is a part of the game. Whether they intended for it to be part of it or not, the fact is, it's part of the final code, and it is a direct result of the player's interactions with that code being executed by the game. without the use of an external device. So those who are in tier 2 would consider that fair. And then you have tier 3. And then you have tier 3, which states that the use of an external device is fair if it does not affect others, you know, in a negative way. So take for instance, you know, see this is kind of subjective, you know what I mean? Cheating is so subjective in video games. But take for example, you know, in Mario Kart 8 or a game like that, if you had a hack that would let you get, you know, a speed higher than whatever the maximum speed may be, then yes, that is definitely not fair, because it does affect others. Those others who are playing in tier 1 and 2 are unable to achieve said speed because they are not using an external device to hack the game. Alright, and obviously the person who gets to the finish line first, they win, right? But the thing is, tier 3 states that using an external device is fair if it does not affect others. So think about it this way. In the case of Mario Kart 8, what if you used a hack to unlock all the characters and all the carts and all the parts and all the stages and stuff, all right when you start the game? Would that be fair? In the case of playing online, yeah, technically, it kind of is, really. Because let's be honest, do you know what stuff the other person has unlocked or hasn't unlocked? So, and it doesn't directly affect the gameplay. I mean, the other person could have obtained all that stuff, you could have gone the highest amount of all that stuff, but you could just say that it's just being used to skip to the part that they actually want. So let's look at an example in the case of Pokemon. Right, I'm just saying, in the case of Pokemon, how would this apply? We see in the Pokemon games, I would think tier 1 is kind of hard to think about because I don't see that very often. I think that in tier 1 players in Pokemon would just go for Pokemon battles strictly as they are. It was never the developer's intention for you to know what IVs are. You're not supposed to know what IVs are. There's a reason that they are a random stat given to your Pokemon the minute you catch them, and you can never ever change the IV stat because it's meant to make all Pokemon have a slight difference in their final stats when they reach level 100, with those differences becoming more and more pronounced the higher they go up in levels. So technically you're not supposed to know what IVs are, so trying to get perfect IVs, or even EVs if you think about it, is not fair. Moreover, using legendaries would probably be considered unfair too, because legendaries are supposed to be these super powerful Pokemon. You know, legendaries are made for the specific purpose of being overpowered, so they could argue that using legendaries is not fair. On to tier 2. In the case of Pokemon, you can not get max IVs legitimately through a random encounter. I mean, you can, but seriously, has anybody ever gotten a max IV Pokemon and known they've got one? I mean, unless they RNG used it, I don't think so. And if they had, they probably didn't even notice or even cared, because they didn't notice. I mean, the chance of getting 31 in every single stat is so absurdly low that you shouldn't even consider it as a possibility ever. And then also think about the fact that you can never even see the stat. The only way you could potentially figure it out is if you were to, you know, somehow calculate it based off your current stats, and the lower your level is, the less accurate that calculation is going to be, and it can only be 100% accurate if you were level 100. So therefore, breeding Pokemon to pass down IV stats onto others, that would be considered fair, because that's a fair way of doing it. But then again, it's only added as a feature because people wanted the highest IVs on their Pokemon. Same with Super Training, that was added as to make getting EVs easier, when technically the original intention for those was that, you know, you just dealt with whatever stats you happen to be given and not known what they are. And then tier 3, oh boy. In tier 3, people say that you can basically use a cheating device to get maximum IVs and the highest amount of EVs, make your Pokemon level 100, make him shiny if you want to even, and give them egg moves and such, and all of that, as long as it fits within the game's requirements. So hacking all of that is fine as long as the end result is something you could have gotten should you have done it in a legitimate way. So, you know, if you think about it, really, in a Pokemon battle, that's really all that matters. Just doing the battling, and really hacking the stats just gets to that quicker. And in the end, not anyone's gonna know, really. No one's gonna know. It's not like they can tell the difference, because there really is no difference. And that's why the hack checks find it very hard to determine a Pokemon that was raised to the maximum stats legitimately, and the difference between that and a Pokemon that was hacked to have the exact same stats. It just wasn't gotten to that way. It can't tell the difference. It's just the way the game is. So that's very interesting. But here's the thing about tier 3. It's about using cheating devices, but in a way that does not affect others. But wait a minute. There are people that use cheating devices in a way that does affect others. So in the case of the Mario Kart 8 example, there will be a person that will hack the game to be able to achieve a super high ridiculous speed in order to just zoom past everyone, cross the finish line at a speed that the other players can't attain. So, you know, yes, that is unfair, because that nobody can get. And you cannot make the argument, oh, you're just skipping the amount of time it'll take to get to that. You can't make that argument. You're literally just being unfair for the sake of being unfair, and not caring about other people's experience with the game. So yeah, in games that have leaderboards, if you hack your high score to something like 9999999, that's not a good thing at all. If you play like Minecraft or something and have X-ray hacks installed, and you can see through the ground where all the valuable ores and caves and mine shafts and all that are, then yeah, that's not being very fair either. But anyway, I hope you all look this interesting look into what people consider cheating in video games. But anyway, I guess that about wraps up this video, so thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like because it helps out with the channel a lot, and be sure to subscribe for some more, maybe of this. I don't know. I don't think I'll do this very often. But yeah. So be sure to subscribe for some more videos. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye.